Hey, I'm Chuck from the band Simple Plan, drummer.
Beautiful. Thanks so much. The Kids in the Crowd documentary really pulls back the curtain. What was the most emotional part of making it personally for you?
I mean, so many emotional moments making this thing. It was a 2 year process. We started thinking about this about 2 years ago. We started filming early 2024, and it went on for the entire year. Meanwhile, we were digging into the archive. We had thousands and thousands of hours of footage that we had collected throughout our entire 25-year career, but also from the early days of like our first band. Pierre and I started playing when we were 13 years old, and we had all this, quite this big collection of footage from, literally like our first band ever. So just revisiting that, looking at all that, seeing things that was really meaningful and significant, but also seeing things that we had totally forgot about, like things you go and like, hold on, where I don't remember doing that. Like, where was that? I think we were a bit overwhelmed by the scope of it all, of what we had done. And like I always say that, you know, the band has been around for 25 years, but in some ways it's really interesting. In some ways it feels like it was 50 because we've done so much. We worked so hard, we traveled, we played in like 70 countries. We, multiple times around the world. We made 6 albums so far. Like it's but at the same time it feels like it was just yesterday.
Yeah.
So it feels like 50 years, but it also feels like it was 5 years, not even. So it's like it's just when you're in a band, you or at the level that we've been sort of, kind of at, like it just feels like it's intense. It's a lot, and it's not easy to process all of it. So to me, it was a joy in lots of ways making the project because it it kind of pulled you back into so many amazing moments of your life, but also it was really difficult because it's hard to try to condense 25 years into an hour and a half, and you have to make impossible choices, and everybody remembers things a little differently. Everybody looks at their role in the band in a different way, and it's really hard to kind of all agree on one version
Yeah.
of the story. And yeah, so it was tricky. It was a tricky process, and it was emotional process
Yeah.
because it's your life. It's literally your entire life. And now we have kids, we have families, and we have parents, we have kids. So in a way, yes, you're making this for the fans, but you're also making it for yourself. You're making it for the legacy of the band, but for your personal legacy as well. And you're making it for like one day maybe your kid pulls that out and is like, hey, I want to understand my dad a little better. Let me watch that and see who he was. So obviously, it's tricky because
Yeah.
everybody has a certain way they want to be perceived or remember. So yeah, there was a lot of emotions making it. It was a lot more intense than I thought it would be.
Yeah, definitely. And out of all of that footage that you guys had, was there a piece of footage that did not make the cut that you really wish had have made the cut?
Well, I was gonna say I wasn't sure where you're going with that question, but one thing came to mind at the first piece of the question. Was there a piece of footage that was really special that like blew your mind?
Yeah.
And I was gonna say like yes, there absolutely was. So towards the end of the process, we had collected like so many tapes, so many VHS, so many DV tapes, like hundreds of them, and we were looking everywhere for if we had forgotten anything. And I found this little box in my parents' basement, like was hidden. I hadn't found it before, and it was towards the very end. Like I'm talking like probably last March,
Yeah.
so like a few months ago, 3 4 months ago, and I found that, and I'm like, I don't know why, but I had this intuition that these tapes, it was like 1999 or 1994 on it. I was like, there's something special about those, and we need to transfer them and figure out what's on them because we didn't have the machines. And the production company that was helping us make the movie, they're like, that's it, we cannot take
No,
any more,
yeah.
we're overwhelmed. That's And we had to go rogue, and we had to like literally like transfer it ourselves. Like we paid for it ourselves, we like without telling them. and sure enough, like on that footage was like the first show Pierre and I ever played in our entire lives, in our parents in our friend's basement. Like high
Oh,
school buddies were watching us, and it was a party. It wasn't even a show, it was like a literally like a party that we were playing.
yeah.
And I saw each other like at maybe 14 years old, 13 years old, like playing, and we were playing a cover of Basket Case from Green Day, which is the only cover we ever played because we wrote all our own song right away except that one song
Yeah.
that we covered. And it was so crazy to see how naive it was, but at the same time, how similar it was to what we do now. Like Pierre and I would actually swap. Like he would go play drums, I would grab the mic, and 20,
Wow.
32 years later, we still do that.
Yeah.
And I forgot that we did that back then.
Way back
And
then. Yeah.
yeah, and I saw, and then there was this other video that was like us like hanging out at his parents' house, but like we're rehearsing, we're jamming, but then we're just kind of messing around with the camera, and you could tell like the purity of the friendship at 14 years old, and like we're just goofing around, we're laughing. There's no there's no responsibility, there's no consequence, there's no it's not like okay, like we have to make a record, we have to write a great song. If we don't, our career's over,
Yeah.
or like we have to go on tour, we don't have a choice. Like it's innocent.
Yeah.
And it really kind of brought me back to like, like the whole foundation of this band is the friendship, and being in a band will damage it and will change it and will alter it, but at the very beginning, that's how it started. And I think that's why we're still in a band together, because of that friendship. It was really pure.
Definitely. It's funny that you started talking about that and the friendship because something I noticed in the documentary, there was a really, really sweet and honest moment from you that was really raw. You talked about your and Pierre's relationship and friendship and the ups and downs, and you didn't shy away from those tough moments that you guys had had together. And I, as a fan, really loved seeing that honesty from you because, sometimes you just think, oh, everyone in bands gets along, and if they don't, it's behind closed doors. But you were really honest and said, no, we had moments where we didn't agree with each other, but we made it through because we both had such a great friendship.
Yeah, it's still one of the most painful thing about, the whole thing about being in a band is like, it really grinds the friendship, because like you have to make all these decisions and they impact each other's lives, and like you and the dynamic that we have, you know I'm Pierre is not the most driven person. He's very, very, very talented,
Hmm.
and I'm not the most talented, and I'm very, very, very driven, and he's not the most driven. So in a way, if you could combine the two of us, it would be the perfect personality to be in the band, right? Like
Yeah,
extremely talented and extremely driven.
yeah,
But for whatever reason, um, in our case, we sort of need each other to make it work.
yeah,
And I think at times that dynamic has been frustrating for both of us. Like
yeah,
I wish I had his talent so I could write the entire record, on my own, and whenever I feel like it, as fast as I want. Like, let's not take a break. Let's go. I can just write it, but I can't.
yeah,
And I'm sure that he feels like sometimes like, man, I'm tired of being pushed. I'm tired of being, told like we need to tour more, we need to write more songs, we need to, because that's kind of my role,
yeah,
and that takes a toll. So yeah, it breaks my heart a little bit, even just talking about it, because um, it takes a toll. And but the one thing I'll say is that as we got older, we learned a lot from our early days of like when we were teenagers. We were not very mature, we didn't know how to be in a band together, and we had a massive fight. I got kicked out of the band. It broke my heart. It was really, really like the most devastating moment of my life. And in a way, I'm grateful it happened, even though there's still some scars from it,
Mhm.
because what I'm realizing is that probably because that happened then, it's why Simple Plan did not break up or never took a hiatus or never went on a break, is because we experienced the devastation of what
Yeah,
it's like when you break up the band or when you get kicked out. And we're like, okay, we know the red line now. We
yeah.
know that you can't cross. If you can get close to it, but if you cross it, you lose everything you love. And I think it really informed how we went about being in Simple Plan.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Well put. It's like you guys already had gone through that breakup so early on, and all the crap that comes along with that, that you guys are like, okay, we never want to get back there. So how do we just evolve from that?
Exactly. And it really taught us a lot. It made us better band members, I think, better yeah, it prevented the usual mistake that
Yeah,
most people do when they're young. They start to get successful, you get on each other's nerves, and then you fuck up the band, and then and then you deprive yourself of everything you've built. You take it all away, and it's a real shame. And so for us, like, we had that experience and we didn't want to go back there. And I
yeah,
think that's how the band is still together today.
yeah, definitely. And one of the key takeaways was how important your fans are. How did it feel watching their stories unfold alongside yours?
Yeah, that was super important, that we really wanted to capture the fact that um the fans were part of our story and they were a big part of it. I mean, it's a cliche thing, like, oh, they're the reason why we're here. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be there. But it's really true. And I think with our band, we never had it's interesting. Like, we were always a bit of the underdogs. We were
Yeah,
never the coolest band to love. Like, our fans, they were, I think they were always understood that maybe they weren't the hippest, coolest people, and we were not the coolest, hippest band. So that, in a way, that bonds you in a, like, pretty profound way, because it's like, you feel like we felt like the underdogs, maybe they felt like the underdogs. So we had this thing in common, where we felt like we were both a little bit on the outside, and we were both maybe, I don't know, I think if our band would have blown up on the first single, and maybe it's massive everywhere at the same time around the world, like you have this massive song, maybe we would have a different mindset. But it wasn't like at all like that for us. It was quite the opposite. Everything that we had to earn, everything we had to work for, nothing was given, to a point where sometimes I wish it would have been a little bit easier, because it was a real, everything was hard. But what it did is it made us really humble, and it made us, like, appreciate each and every fan, because, like, it was really hard to like, once we got somebody that was with us, it was like that person was precious, because we didn't have millions and millions of those,
yeah,
you know so at the beginning. So I think that really made us look at the fans in a more, like, they became more precious or more important. We wanted to protect that. We didn't just think, oh, it's okay, who cares, we have so many anyways, you know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
So yeah, they're part of the story. And I think that when we released Perfect, um that opened up a whole different dimension of the band. It really, we went from being like, okay, this is a fun band,
yeah,
like, they have tons of energy, they jump around, they play like these kind of like irreverent, in your face pop punk anthems, cool. But when we released Perfect, it changed the whole way that fans related to us, because it wasn't just like, oh, it's a fun band. All of a sudden, it was a band that was like, that understood them, the
yeah,
fans. It was a band that the relationship became more profound. The relationship became deeper. It was like, oh, like, now we're on a whole different level. with the fans. And I think it changed our whole relationship with them because the band became just more important. It wasn't just a band that you went to see on a Friday night because they were fun. It was a band that you listened to, you know, all the time because they were like you felt understood.
Exactly.
And and then it led to us writing songs like Untitled and Crazy, and it led us to write Save You and this song Saved My Life. And it
Mhm.
really informed the our musical identity,
Yeah.
and I think that when we wrote all these songs, it just reinforced the connection. So it was like this kind of like feedback loop where every time we would write one of those songs, the connection would get stronger. So it was really important for us to feature the fans and show how important they were, and we wanted them to see themselves in the story and in the movie.
Yeah, yeah, it's beautiful. And a little bit more on how you guys relate so much to your fans and people get so much from your music. Do you find it a huge responsibility? Do you find it really tough when fans will come up to you and say, you guys saved my life? Like, it must be a huge thing to take on.
um yeah, I would say that, I don't know, it's an interesting point because I don't want to seem like I don't want people to do that, because I feel like in a way we're the vehicle, right? We're kind of like the vessel that people that are going through tough times, they hear the band, they use the band. There's like a lifeline
Yeah.
for a lot of them. And when they meet you, there's such an intimate connection that they feel like they can tell you things that they wouldn't be telling most strangers, or like they don't look at you like a stranger, right? They look at you like somebody that's been there, almost like a friend. So, you know, yes, it is intense sometimes when people give you letters or tell you like these stories that are pretty, sometimes like really intense and really sad and heartbreaking, and like we're talking like the worst things that can happen to people, cancer, like losing people, um you know people being like abused, or people being like neglected by their parents when they were kids. And you know it's really like you're seeing the darker side of like humanity, and how people like trying to take their lives and all that stuff. And so it is a big responsibility. And I think the way that we've dealt with it, it was in two ways. It's like, first of all, it was three ways. First of all, whenever we meet people and they tell us their stories, like we always make sure that you're there and you listen and you give them the time to tell you what's going on. And that's very important. We always wanted to write songs on every record that would be helpful for people.
Yeah.
It became almost like, I'm not gonna say it was like a public service because it wasn't, but it felt like people would tell us like, hey, my life is really tough right now. Like, I need a new Simple Plan record to like get me through. So
Mhm.
you're like, oh, okay. So we're not just gonna write songs about like how it's sunny outside and everything is perfect. Like,
Yeah.
we felt like a bit of a responsibility to write stuff that was a bit deeper, that
Mhm.
was a bit more, honest and heartfelt. And then like the other thing was, I'm trying to think of what the other thing I was sorry,
No,
I'm
you're
losing
right.
track. But it was kind of like, it was also just going and playing shows for them,
Yeah.
and like making sure that that they could come and have that kind of cathartic moment where they can sing their hearts out and be and have that moment of release and everything. So yeah, it's I don't know. I think it just comes with the territory.
Yeah.
It comes like with the kind of band that we are. It's and in a way, like, we're grateful because what more can you ask for than writing songs that have an impact,
Yeah.
that can. And oh, I forgot what I was gonna say. And then it led us to starting the foundation, the Simple
Yes.
Plan Foundation, which was very important for us. And it was a way to have a more direct, um, like way of helping
Yeah.
people more directly, as opposed to just writing music. It was like, okay, well, we should take the next step. We should do something that feels a bit more real, like anchored in real life. So that was the idea behind the foundation.
Yeah, yeah, beautiful. And you guys really have shown up for those fans. As you said, I think you've been like a common lifeline for them, for people to keep going, which is, and as you said, you're not just writing songs that are saying everything's going to be okay. You're acknowledging the hard things that people go through and yeah, relating. It's awesome. And
But I would say that there was always, if there is one thing about Simple Plan, is that that hope always shines through.
yeah,
Like it's like, yeah, it's really, really tough,
yes,
but we're gonna figure this out. And that's kind of the essence of what we do for with the lyrically and with the music. It's always like, okay, can be really, really tough, but there's a light at the end of that tunnel, and we can get there together.
together. That's it. That's it. The early days for you guys weren't always easy. What kept you guys going when the punk scene didn't fully embrace you?
Um, that's a good. I mean, it was really hurtful for us because we came from. If you watch the documentary, I think people are gonna realize that it's like it was frustrating for us when we came out because people thought we were just like overnight success, or we were just like we were put together, or we were manufactured band. And when in fact we had been playing for since we were 13 years old for like 6 7 years already. And it was a like it was a legit credible punk rock band
Yeah.
that we were in. So when people started to say you guys we were a bunch of sellouts and we didn't know anything about punk rock, it was like, well, we were just playing with Good Riddance and Pennywise and MXPX, and we were playing with all these bands that were well respected, like Lagwagon and Strung Out. And so it was hurtful. It was kind of like, but I understood because we sort of shifted our musical sound and we shifted our lyrics a little bit. And um so I got it. What kept us going was like the conviction that we belonged there,
Yeah.
that we had paid our dues, that we had earned our spot, that we had like a long history of playing this kind of music, and that um yeah, that we belong there, and the desire to prove people wrong. I think that's really been strong for Simple Plan. This chip on our shoulder, we've always had it. The band, you know, we were very driven, and we had a point to make. And the point to make was that we were, like a really good live band, and we really believe in what we did, and we didn't care if people thought it wasn't good enough or it wasn't punk enough or whatever. We were like, no, this is what we want to do, and we're not going to take no for an answer. We're going to keep on playing. And in fact, when we were, pedal with bottles, and we were like,
Yeah.
like people would just stand at the entire show like this, and like would yell at us, and it made us want to play harder, and made us want to, you know, run and jump higher on stage, and just play harder, and be a better live band, and just stay on that stage no matter what, because it was ours, like it was our moment, and we were not going to let anybody stop us. So I think in lots of ways that sort of hate of the whole not punk enough thing, it made us a better band. It made us like want to play harder and better. And now, like when I think about with the kind of band we are now, it's been informed by all these years.
Yeah.
Like we never cheat, we never go on stage and play like a half-ass show, because even though we don't have these haters, we know that people still think like it's almost like we still want to, no matter how successful the band is, and no matter how we don't really have the hate anymore, it's still ingrained in us that we have to prove
Yeah.
everybody wrong, and we have to show that we're much better than people realize, and all that. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
part of us, part of the DNA of the band now.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Never, never will you play a half-ass show. As you said, it'll always be full on, full energy.
Yeah, because there's also this reason, which is, well, when you're playing, we're 25 years into our band, right? So that's a lot. I mean, that's quite a lot of shows that we've played. But what's the crazy part is that when we ask people now, like, hey, how many people it's the first time seeing Simple Plan. And like most headline shows and festivals, it's even worse, but headline shows, it's like literally like half the crowd, if not 75%, raises their hand and says, "It's my first time seeing you." So you're truly making a first impression on all these people. So no, it doesn't matter how many shows you've played,
No.
how great the show, like when we came to Australia in 2024 last year,
Hmm.
we play like our hearts out. But when we come back next year or whatever it is, we come back, like you're starting from zero. Half the crowd has never seen you.
Yeah.
So it's like whatever, like how amazing you were last week, it doesn't matter. You start over every single time. And I think that makes you also want to play the best show possible because you start to imagine in your head like say you go on stage and you feel like, ah man, I'm not sure about tonight. Like I'm a little tired. I would rather, I wish I was home. I miss my family, whatever.
Yeah.
And then you start to look at the front row or the balcony or whatever, and you see like, and I start to imagine in my head like, oh man, this kid, maybe he's been waiting for 15 years to see us. This is
Yeah.
his time. Like he had this date circle on his calendar. Like it was like or maybe he took the train for 6 hours and he came to see the band, or maybe like he worked really hard, like he worked overtime to pay that ticket, and he's sitting there, and he wants a show. And it's like when you start thinking like that, there's no way you're putting on like an average show. You're gonna give it your all, and I think that we've never forgot what it was like to be the fan in the crowd, and that's why we named the movie "The Kids in the Crowd," because fundamentally, I think we still are those kids in the crowd, and we somehow we got on stage, and you know but the who we are is still that kid. And I
Yeah.
think that, and we realize that now we've become the band that the kids in the crowd look up to, just like when we were the kids in the crowd, we were looking up to like No Effects or Pennywise or
Mm.
whatever band, Bad Religion or whatever. So that comes with a responsibility, to
Yeah.
deliver.
Yeah, definitely. And okay, just to end it, you guys do have a new single, Nothing Changes, dropping. Is it tomorrow for you guys?
I think it's literally in like 15 minutes
Oh, okay.
that
Oh my
it's
God.
coming out.
Oh my
Yeah, it's because
gosh.
it's almost midnight here, so
Yeah.
so it usually drops at midnight. So yeah, I think it's coming out
Oh,
really, really
wicked.
soon.
And is that the sign of maybe there's more in the works, another album or?
Well, I mean, the last album was 2022. We put out this song with Avril not too long ago, which was like a fun collab, but it wasn't our song. It was more like hers. We were just kind of featured. But this documentary, the whole process, the whole story, and watching it and looking at all these archives, really inspired the band to like kind of write a song about all of it, like what it's like to be in a band. And the sort of the essence of the song is like, we've changed, like a lot of things have changed, but in lots of ways, nothing's changed at
Nothing's
all.
changed. Yeah.
Nothing changes, like we're still on stage, we're still doing what we love the most, we're still trying to write the best Simple Plan song that we can every single time. And, so that was the inspiration. And it because we wanted to be careful, like you make a documentary, you celebrate your past, and it's awesome and it's great and we're proud of it, but you don't want to become like this fossil, this kind of dinosaur that's just, it's all about the past. And it was really important to kind of balance that with like, okay, like we're gonna take a moment to celebrate, but we're also in the future. We're starting the next
Think
chapter, and
about.
we look at this documentary as a way to really kick off what's coming next for Simple Plan. So no, we don't. It's not like the first single off the album. It's a single off the soundtrack of the album of the movie. Sorry, but
Mm.
yes, we want to make new music, and we want to keep being creative, and we want to keep making more records. So probably next year, because this year we're just so stacked with touring and everything. But
Yeah.
next year we're gonna start looking at new music.
Oh, fantastic. We can't wait. And I can't wait to hear this new single. Chuck, thank you so much for your time today. It's been amazing.
My pleasure. Thank you very much. It was great talking to you.